I posted a video, I think it was last week. It was an edited video, and it was Rachel Zegler's double standards, her contradictory statements. And I just talked about how a lot of things that she had said was just contradictory. And I was pointing out things that she had said for West Side Story versus what she had said for Snow White. And they were contradictory statements regardless. And someone replied to my video, and I thought it was actually quite an interesting comment. Let me just read what the comment says to you. I think it's really weird how we're cherry picking what actresses say each time Disney makes another crappy remake instead of criticizing the company. And yeah, the backlash is always at the expense of female actresses. Let's focus on criticizing the faceless corporations instead of women, shall we? Nothing against this vid in particular. It's part of a gender trend that I find troubling. Now, there is a certain degree of validity to this comment. I actually agree and I don't agree with this comment, but I thought it was actually video worthy to talk about it. Let me just get rid of this. So let's start with the first bit. I think it's really weird how we're cherry picking what actresses say each time that Disney makes another crappy remake instead of criticizing the company. Well, first of all, I don't know about other content creators, but I have criticized Disney, be it on my channel or be it just in general. I do criticize Disney for making remakes. I want them to stop. I don't like recent remakes. Ever since they started changing the storylines, instead of writing new stuff, that's where my issue has come in. I didn't really have an issue with Cinderella. Didn't have an issue with Beauty and the Beast. They didn't really majorly change anything in particular. They still followed the storylines. But then they started adding things and changing things. And with regards to Snow White, like rewriting it altogether, almost. Undoing their first ever full feature animation. And I disagreed with that. I also want to say that, the cherry picking. Okay, so cherry picking. So with the clips that I used, it came from something that she was talking about with West Side Story, and it just flowed from one thing to another. And then I played another clip where she says something that was actually quite rude, in my opinion, but it wasn't cherry picked. I know that some other content creators probably do that, and there is a thing where you can cherry pick something purposely to make someone look bad, and then there's a type of cherry picking that you can pull out and say, no, this is an example of what this person has said, and this is how it's making it bad. And the thing about criticizing a company is that these big faceless corporations, they don't give a crap about what the minorities, which would be like someone like myself or just a general member of the public, they don't give a crap what you say or other people say until something happens. For example, and this is probably not my favorite example, but for example, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, right? That happened, and Warner Bros. Straight up fired Johnny Depp because apparently it was all his fault, even though he hadn't been found guilty nor innocent at that time. But they let Amber Heard keep her job. That's a double standard, right? Yeah? So that's probably not the best analogy, but that's a good example that I can think of. But they didn't give a crap what we thought about that. And to this day, Disney and Warner Brothers have not apologized to Johnny Depp. Okay, and they won't. Because they don't want to admit that they're wrong, and that would make them look bad. But in the terms of like it always being the female actresses that receive the backlash, that's not always the case. I slammed Peter Dinklage for his comments about his own Little People community. That was harsh. He was so wrong with those comments, and they did not deserve to be ostracized for the sake of his little soapbox. And I disapproved. And that is actually a video that is on this particular channel. Okay? So it's not always the actress. I do know other content creators have actually done that as well. They have actually talked about Peter Dinklage. So it's not always the actresses that face the backlash. Right? And Rachel Zegler is the female lead of Snow White. She was also the female lead of West Side Story, and she's going to be the female lead in the Hunger Games. So she will be judged for anything that she says, particularly because she is the female lead. You can tell, right, but you can tell what she has been told to say versus what she's not been told to say. And this is where the criticism is really coming in. You've got to remember, I'm an actress, so I take this from the perspective of an actress. Okay? You are told when it comes to PR, no, scrap that thought. Let's start from the very beginning. Okay, so when you take on a job as a regular employee of whatever, you sign into a contract, and with that contract you have responsibilities, and you have to fulfill those responsibilities. You are expected to fulfill those responsibilities. Okay, now your employer also has responsibilities to you as the employee, and they will do whatever it is in their terms of their contract to fulfill their end of their contract, right? Okay, so Disney has this contract with Rachel Zegler. Rachel has this contract with Disney, and they have to comply with each other, basically. Okay, so she would have had lots of conversations with Disney. Disney would have had lots of conversations with her. She is expected, as the face of Snow White, to fulfill any PR statements or whatever it is in the promotional stage. So they will either give her talking points or they will write something for her. Okay? Now, it's up to her, with the talking points, how she phrases it. She would have gone through perhaps with the PR team. Okay? And if it's not scripted, she can sort of manipulate it to make herself sound a bit more natural and a little less harsh, maybe. Okay? But it's her responsibility to make it sound good. And everything that she has said that has been, scripted, it doesn't make her sound good. It doesn't make her sound approachable. And that's the problem that I think a lot of people are having. It doesn't sound good, doesn't make her approachable. And also, if they have written the PR statements for her, she can work with Disney, or she can work with Warner Brothers, or whatever company that it is. She can work with the PR team to fulfill her promotional duties, but make her sound approachable, make her sound likable. All of this stuff that you hear about her not liking Snow White, hating the Snow White ride, the prince is a stalker. You can guarantee that Disney would not have told her to say that. And that is really the major issue that everyone's having. What they have told her to say is that, she is fulfilling the duties of what her father always wanted her to be, or whatever. You've seen it. You've probably seen it. Okay, and those particular statements from Rachel have pretty much been verbatim. So that leads me to believe that that is what Disney have told her to say. That's what the PR team have told her to promote. And so she's gone and she's done that. Now, not a lot of people like it, and that's on Disney. But anything that she says after that, which is to do with more of her as a person, that's her responsibility. That's her fault. Disney, we don't know if Disney has reined her in. Okay, we don't know that. We have no clue. Okay? But they might have done. And at the moment, because she can't say anything, we've only got what she's said in the past to go on, right? So that's part of the problem. And, just to highlight another example with the West Side Story stuff, just taking the stuff, because we've not had anything for Hunger Games yet, but for the West Side Story stuff, she uses the words accurate representation, which you can guarantee is probably, and she uses it quite a lot, you can guarantee that was probably what she was told to say by the PR team for West Side Story. Okay, now that obviously then spurred a lot of controversy, because people were like, well, you don't represent me. There was a good thing in a play that I saw the other day, As You Like It, when they finished it off with something, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it really bothered me, because I was like, well, no, you don't speak for me, but that's on the director, that's on the creative take, and that's on the actors as well for endorsing it. You've all got to be on the same page. But Rachel has gone beyond that, and she's taken it too far. And like the comments, like when the Latinas, not the Latinas, the Puerto Ricans, the genuine Puerto Ricans were saying, you don't speak for me. Do you speak the language? Do you do this? Do you do that? And she's going, does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter? That's rude. That's very rude. Very rude indeed. And it's unnecessary. Because, technically, in those statements, when she's saying it, does it matter? Does it matter? That's when you would be like, zip it. Don't say anything. Don't respond to it. Don't respond to it. Zip it. And the thing is, technically, with those statements, she's not wrong. It doesn't matter. But because the statement that she had to use was what was it? Accurate representation. People got funny about it, so that's of course caused her to respond the way that she responded, and she created even more controversy by being rude. But technically, if the PR team had said, well, we could say visual representation, and I think people would have not batted an eyelid, because they would have used the words visual representation, and then Rachel wouldn't have had to have gone, does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter? Which is rude, right? So that aside, so she's gone with what the PR team have told her to say, which is clear because it's pretty much verbatim every time. But then she's gone beyond that, and that is really, I think, overall what's creating the problem. But obviously, because she can't talk at the moment, we don't know yet if she's been reined in, and if this is what is a vicious. This strike is obviously causing the trouble here, in addition to any past comment that she's said. And this comment, let's not focus on criticizing let's focus on criticizing the faceless corporations instead of women, shall we? And then obviously nothing against my vid. Listen, I will call out these corporations until the cows come home, but I also will call out any actor or any actress that talks crap. Because whilst these faceless corporations have a responsibility, so do the actors. And yes, they may fulfill, PR-wise, the responsibility, but if they go beyond that, then that's on them. They have to take ownership of that, and that could be potentially why Rachel Zegler will never do another Snow White. if they decide to go with the sequel, she's very likely to be fired. Very likely, because of the backlash, because Disney don't want to be associated with someone who talks that amount of bad stuff about them. They don't want to be associated with that. They won't want to. And they'll want to be washing their hands of it. They won't go to reshoots. They won't reshoot the entire film. They won't do any of that. I've explained in a previous video what I think that they could potentially do. I don't think they'll go to reshoots for the entire film. It's too expensive. But have I explained that clearly? I do believe that both male and female actresses should be called out, and corporations should be called out as well. But like I said, I don't think they give a damn until someone does something, someone that is their face of their film or whatever causes a problem. Have I explained that? I don't know if I've explained that. I just thought it was a great comment and it was worth talking about. Anyway, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Comment in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and come on over to my Rumble and my Twitch. I have videos on my Rumble and I live stream on my Twitch. And thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye. Oh, wow. Oh, sorry. I have to blow my nose. I'm